love that in terms of yoga and the brain is because your body and your brain work better when they're clean.
Even if it did fail, I knew I could always go back to corporate and find a job.
Teaching cafeteria workers who work so incredibly hard, teaching them about handling fresh produce, how to get more fresh produce into the schools.
You need to tell people, bring a coffee to Coffee and Crystals.
But sometimes you need an intervention. You need a surgery, and that's okay. You get your surgery, and then you use all these other modalities in the Ayurveda to prevent things from coming back.
Hey guys, you stumbled upon Coffee and Crystals. I'm Katie, your motivator, your host, your hostess, and on this podcast, I am sharing a ton of information. And not only have I been highly caffeinated for a couple of years, I have knowledge of over 500 hours of yoga teacher training. I have been in the corporate world for over 15 years, so I will be your business coach. We'll talk about self-help, beauty, all things wellness and crystals. And in every episode, I am inviting you into my heart. And honestly, this adventure is pretty cool that we're going on together. We're going to meet some of my gurus, the wisdom of mentors and friends and family members. It's a good time. So stay hydrated, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and let's dig into today's episode.
It was 304.
It's a good guess. 600 are in the body.
Close enough.
How many organs?
16.
Decent guess. Can you name 10?
Your skin, your heart, your kidneys, your liver, your appendix, your colon, your what am I at? 7? Forgot the rest.
I think you did a record here.
Fair enough.
We got the first athlete on the show to hold the record here on Coffee and Crystals. So know your body, you guys. This is our temple. It pays to know your body.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 on season 4 of Coffee and Crystals. I've really enjoyed this season. We kicked off the season with Justin Newcomb talking about Kangen water, and since a value at Coffee and Crystals is staying hydrated, I thought that was a good topic to introduce and educate you guys. It's a big conversation. We're either talking about it because we are conscious and aware of the water problem and situation, or I was listening to a podcast where they were promoting their high-priced tequila and saying that it was important to spend money on tequila, but water not so much. And I thought that was interesting because I'm a Casamigos girl. I like my expensive tequila, but I also understand the importance of the water that I am putting into my body, that I'm using on my face and my skincare routine. So I'm excited that we started the season talking about Kangen water. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Make sure you reach out to me if you have any questions about the water filtration systems that I sell with Justin. I'm also really into the air filtrations. I think the LA fires really shed a light about, I guess, a little bit of fear there, where if you don't have access to clean air, what do you do? So there are air filtrations from Kangen as well. But then we got to meet Dr. Ava on the show. So speaking of anxiety and fear, we talked about that on the show. For me, the takeaway with Dr. Ava really was to bring more joy and love into what it is that I love, and that is writing. And sometimes even as much as I love writing and I do it as therapeutic, I do it as reflection, I do it to make to-do lists, and I also do it to help my business. I'm a storyteller, so I do a lot of writing with social media content and content creation in general, the scripts for Coffee and Crystals. And on that episode, she really just reminded me to sit down and do it with joy. So check that episode out. I did some live readings. I've been writing a lot for my book that will be published by the end of this year. So just kind of like practicing telling some of my stories and reading the stories out loud, and like kind of reading them myself helps me with the editing. So thank you for letting this be a platform for that. And then today we get to meet Chris Eversley, and I know that a lot of the people who are in the West Hollywood Run Club are tuning in today. So hey guys, we meet at the Pink Wall in LA on Melrose every Thursday at 7 p.m. So if you aren't in the club already, that's the information. You might want to follow the Instagram because the spot changes if there's a partnership we're doing. Like we've had it at Lululemon, we've had it at Hoka. So usually we meet at the Pink Wall, but follow the social media. But I'm excited about this podcast for so many reasons. I met Chris in in Chinese medicine, what we would call the late summer of 2023, like September era. It was at Run Club. It was at the OG spot. And I was going through a lot at that time when I met Chris, and we connected. I was sampling drinks for this beverage company I was working for, Pulp Culture. It was a really cool drink. It was geared towards athletes in recovery and people that don't want a hangover and have shit to do the next day, that can enjoy a caffeinated drink that really was fermentated, and that's where the alcohol came from. I mean, that's where all the alcohol comes from, is it's a fermentation process. But this also had mushrooms in it, so there would be ones for focus, one for energy. So I brought some of those drinks as a sampling, got to talking to Chris on that run, and I had just lost a job that you guys, if you're an OG listener, heard the story or know the story. I had worked for this company for 4 years. I was paid really well. It gave me a lot of travel and access to seeing my friends and family a lot. So my life really changed when I lost that job in the spring of 2023. And I was still in the weeds of it because I had some skin cancer taking off my body. So it was like healing from that and being able to like get back into yoga. Like the asana practice of yoga was like a whole thing that summer. I also had a relationship really blow up in my face, and all of that was coming to head when I had met Chris. And he just was so kind, and you'll hear about it on this show, what he said to me, because I read it to you guys and I read it to him. I kind of remind him. He just like had these words of, like wisdom that he shared with me when I gave him a little blurb of what it was I was going through. And from that moment, I knew I wanted to cast him on Coffee and Crystals. So here we are, spring. The pink full moon is next week, so I'll be talking about that on the podcast. So we're going to save that information, but know that in like 4 days, if you're watching this when this episode drops, the pink full moon is April 13th. And it's really like the season in general is about renewal and growth. And we talked about Chinese medicine on this episode. Chris actually brought it up. And one of my favorite things as a yoga teacher is to teach you guys about the different seasons. And I'm really learning about Chinese medicine and how each season resonates something to your emotions, to different organs in your body. So this spring, the emotion that is attached to the spring season is actually anger. And since it's really important for us to be moving with chi in the springtime, like renewal really brings a lot of fluidity, we need to remember that anger isn't necessarily always a bad thing. It can come up in instances to teach us something or kind of be a trigger, right? So we talk about pain today on the episode, and anger would be, a frequency that would be next, something that you will get if you are experiencing a lot of pain in your life. We're not usually like happy immediately. We usually get a little angry about it. So just know that this season, that's the imbalance. If you feel triggered and you're having a lot of anger, and a way to balance that is really the organs that are connected to this season is our gallbladder and our liver, which is on our bodies on the right side, the masculine side, and it's right underneath our rib cage. So in yoga, think expansion, really lengthening the body. And when you breathe into your body, if you have just like 5 minutes to breathe, think about the expansion when you're exhaling and twisting the ribs and giving fresh breath into those organs on your body. And just be mindful, right? Like the two of them work in tandem to digest, I don't know, I'm like trying to sound all sciencey here, but the gallbladder really helps remove the bile that comes from the liver and when it's digesting. And just be mindful, right? Like you don't want to be doing a lot of sugar or alcohol or heavy drinking. You're going to need a lot of clean, healthy water and just fluids, right? The liver regulates our blood. So, it's also the color of green. Think about that. That doesn't seem too strange to think that the spring's color is green, but that's the heart chakra. Chris and I were talking about a lot of different subjects, but the heart chakra definitely got brought up with just some symbolisms. He talked about the number 3, which is also correlated with the heart chakra. So to stay nice and balanced this season, let's not let our anger get the best of us. Let's let it teach us something. And let's take care of our liver and our gallbladder. And I guess that's enough for me. Oh, I wanted to share the song of the episode. I was thinking about when I first started podcasting or playing radio host. It was when I was younger with my sister. For hours, we used to be in our rooms and we'd be like mixing tapes and like pretending like we were talking to the community. So I was listening to this song and I think it's a little weird, but that's why I wanted to like play my favorite part of the song for you guys, and you guys can let me know if you think this song is weird too. I think it has some good phrases in it. It's like, I'm back. It's talking about abundance with no lack. I don't know, I gotta practice the words, but it's a rap by Kari, Kharii. This is my favorite part, and then we'll get into the episode.
Tell 'em sneak up on the map, abundant with no lack. Come meet me in the back, come meet me round the map. You see I'm back to rap, yeah, so tell 'em it's a rap, it's a rap. Hold up, me.
What's going on?
Welcome to Coffee and Crystals. I feel like I casted you 3 years ago, so I'm happy it's finally happening.
Hey, you know what? Better late than never.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
Well, it's been a year for you.
You could say that.
We're going to dive into that. You guys, if you're new to the show, welcome. This is a yoga podcast. We talk about business. We talk about yoga philosophy, anatomy. You're going to learn about the body today, and you're going to hear a story from my buddy, Chris. Chris, where are you from?
This is actually really good coffee and a nice cup, actually.
Oh my gosh,
Where'd you get this?
you haven't heard of La La Land?
I actually have gone, but I have not seen these there.
Oh my gosh, it's actually a brand that is expanding. They're opening in Texas. They're all over California. It's the best matcha. Are you a matcha fan?
I am.
Okay, you got to go to La La Land and get their matcha.
Okay.
You can add CBD there, and it's like stevia and like anything that you have in your pantry, like they have at La La Land. And their whole thing is about being kind.
Okay.
And that's a value at Coffee and Crystals. Like, kindness is definitely something we all need to be spreading more of in the world.
I mean, if you can get some of that with your morning cup of coffee, I think that's a pretty damn good combo.
Right? And that's like their thing. Like, people are coming to the store and they're late to work, or who knows what they're going through, but it's like the first bit of kindness in your day. So yeah, they support Coffee and Crystals.
I like it. No, I like them for that. But to answer your question, I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I've been out here in California for 15 years.
Oh my gosh, you've been here for 15 years?
I've been here for 15
Why
years.
did I think you were going to answer 3 years? Okay, so you are an OG of LA.
Oh, I'm here. I got a license, got everything. All of that fun stuff that comes with living out here. I've been over a decade in experience at having it.
Now I have questions about that, because I feel like LA is a tough city to like live in or to just get comfortable in, or was that just my experience?
I think it's a mixture of both. So my first 5 years in California, I was actually in San Luis Obispo for school. So I was up there about 90 minutes north of Santa Barbara, but I would spend my summers down here playing basketball, so I would just drive down the weekends and just hang out and play. But when I moved back here full time in 2015, then I got a little bit of that, where it's very tough to find your footing, especially in a world where a lot of people are chasing things that didn't align with me personally at the time. So the only thing I knew about LA growing up was the OC because of the shows. And I remember at a Hollister in Chicago, they had a continuous stream of Huntington Beach. And that was when I knew I just had to get out of here one way or another.
So funny. Huntington Beach did it for you. I do like Huntington Beach. One of my favorite hotels is over there, the Paseo. Have you ever stayed there?
I haven't stayed there. I've seen
They're
it.
dog friendly. Finley likes it too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but like, why LA?
I think LA was the right place for me in terms of continuing my basketball career. So it allowed me to come back to a place in the summertime where the weather was nice. I could just hang out, be around a lot of my friends from college, and not have to move back to Chicago and deal with a lot of things that I didn't necessarily like about growing up there. I think this provided a new space for me to chase life in a different, age or mindset. Because I think being in Chicago for the first 17 years of my life really made me one way. And I think me moving to LA and solidifying my roots here just gave me a new mindset on how I wanted to chase the next chapter.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like I just kind of like landed in LA. And then I don't really feel like really land anywhere, but sometimes in your life when the ego's in the way, you can feel that way, or I have felt that way, but I see the patterns and the whys now, you know? Like I used to write in my diary, this is so funny. When I was a little girl, I'd be like, see you in Hollywood. I would sign off to myself. See you on Broadway, see you in Hollywood. I lived 2 blocks. I used to walk down Broadway to my job when I lived in New York. So I was like, okay, see you on Broadway. And then like, here I am living in West Hollywood, but I didn't like pick to live in West. I mean, technically I did. I signed the lease, but it's like I kind of just landed here. So like LA was part of my story, but I don't feel like I picked it.
Right. Well, I mean, that's how life works out sometimes. Right?
Yes.
I think you set out what you want to do in life, and life chooses how it gets you there, right? So whether that's you signed a lease, but those dreams of wanting to become something bigger than yourself and really leave something of value for people in the creation space, it can take you wherever it can.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you landed in one of the strongest potential places for growth.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for saying that.
Of course.
Like that's the energy we're taking into the rest of this show.
As we should.
So many like cool things about you, Chris. I feel like when I first met you, I just was like, I've done this all my life. I like pick my friends. Like I just felt like I like this guy. Like he's gonna be on my podcast. Like I was going through some really heavy stuff when I first went to the Run Club. So shout out to Hannah and the West Hollywood Run Club.
Getting all the love this week.
Getting all the love. You know, it's funny because last episode, part of Coffee and Crystal's intro is I would like talk about what's happening at Run Club, and it was like part of the show, but I don't know, I don't feel like the community really stuck with that. I was like, I guess they're not listening, but they're gonna listen because you're on. You're like a big fan, like everyone is a fan of Chris Eversley, okay? I don't know if it's because he was a D1 athlete, he's a CEO, keynote speaker, writer, brand ambassador. What did I miss?
A people person.
Okay.
I think is how I've branded myself recently. I just love people.
that.
I love interactions. I love supporting my friends. I love just seeing people with an opportunity to do good and providing my skill set to help them however I can.
I love that, and I see that in you. You know, I was stalking you the last 72 hours just to make sure that there wasn't anything that I'm missing, which we did miss something. He's now a podcast host, so we'll talk about that later in the show. But one of your missions on your website really spoke to me. Your mission is to apply performance mindset to guide leaders on their journey toward peak performance and impact, to help maximize their time, opportunities, and self. And I really resonated with that because I'm going to read another quote, and it's something you sent me that to kind of circle back. I was going through a really heavy period in my life. Like, I had just lost a boyfriend to some crazy drugs that was like, literally, it was almost like, I guess looking back, the signs were there, but I had no idea that was even a thing. I had lost my job. I was going through skin cancer. That's why I loved when you were like, a skin and organ. Like, I had all this like recovery over my body. It was just like a tough spot. And I mentioned something to you. I don't know what you said, that I said something like, I think I'm moving back to New York. I'm giving up. Like so dramatic, and I barely knew you. And this is what he said. So I pulled it out as like a quote for the episode. You said, you'd be surprised what you're capable of when your back is up against the wall. I'm sure you've been there before, even in school with tests and cramming. Go ace that shit. I remember him saying that to me, and it gave me chills. It just really resonated with me. So I love that you were able to, I can talk a little bit more about your athletic career, you can talk about it, but I love how you created a business where you're like bridging your passion for people and like helping others, but also in your passion of sports and like bridging, you've made your own business out of your own life story. So what were the first times when you decided that you were gonna kind of bridge your basketball career with your professional career?
I think that it's pretty rare to fit into a box being an athlete. I think one of the terms that I really coined for myself was being unboxable. Because what I realized when I was applying for jobs was I may not have had the required experience, but I had the required skills. So I may not be checking these boxes per se, but I could come in and do the job extremely well because I can learn on my feet because I'm used to being an athlete. So the concept of being unboxable, I think, is not only applicable to myself, but I try to tell people about the same things. There's a lot of situations out there where you may not be the perfect fit for, nor should you be. I think you need to find the situation that fits you, whether that's New York, whether that's West Hollywood, whether that's, Stockholm, Sweden. Wherever your creativity takes you is somewhere that you need to be able to go and let it thrive. But for me, I look at life through the lens of what unique problem can I solve? And for me, that is combining sport with business, because I have the knowledge and the experience from sport, which gives me all the tools to be a great business person, a great leader. How can I take that and blend it with the business expertise that I did have? And the framework that I use and I give my clients is the concept of mixing paint. So if I know I was a great athlete, that's my blue paint. If I know I want to go into business, so I did a nonprofit, my first big boy job, I did tech for a few years, that's my red paint. I need to put those together so now I can give the world purple, right? So that's how I use it. I use my experience from one, I use my experience from the other. These are the two unique things that I have for me that I can blend together to solve the problem only I can solve, because it's only been me that's been through it.
And then I know you talk a lot about AI in business. So I don't know how I went there after their comment, because is that how you can also have AI help you kind of like how do you use AI in business? How do you pitch that to people?
I use it pretty heavily, honestly, because I think when it was first being evolved, it started out as ChatGPT, and then you have everybody else who kind of entered the space. But at the time, I worked at a tech company, so I worked around a bunch of engineers who kind of taught me the ropes. So getting firsthand experience of seeing how they used it was important. But I think for me personally, I use it now as a proofreader. I use it now as an editor. I use it to essentially run the rest of my C-suite, if you will. So I can use it as a marketing assistant. I can use it as a sales assistant.
Yeah.
You give it different jobs and tools, and then you make the decisions as the
But
CEO.
you're the ultimate AI, because like you said, nobody's can think and have the solutions because of your experience, and then helping with AI, just making it be faster.
Yeah.
I just think that's a great message for people to know, because I feel like, sometimes I make jokes like the Uber robot fell over the other day, and I was like, this is why robots won't replace us, kind of just being silly to get into that conversation. But some people are really upset about AI. A lot of times people tell me to use AI for my podcast, and I'm like, well, explain what you mean by that, because it's I do, just when I'm writing for my book, I'm using AI with grammar. People are using AI or could utilize AI to get more done off of their unique talents.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's something that people need to honestly realize about AI isn't here to replace you unless you let it, right? It's just like any sort of change management in an organization, in society. When we're moving to smartphones, of course, there's people who hate it, but once you lean into it, you see how much better it's made our lives, right?
Yeah.
For information, for content sharing, for keeping in contact with people. So I think it's under the similar framework where if you can use it as a companion and not depend on it entirely, it's the perfect tool, because it's a computer at the end of the day, so it's never going to have that personal touch.
Yeah. Well, you also said the athlete mindset, and that was definitely something, or you were talking about the mindset of an athlete. And I've always surrounded myself with athletes. I guess you could say I was an athlete, but I grew up really poor. And all my friends, I grew up really poor in a really rich neighborhood, in a really rich community. So my friends were always in club soccer, or all my best friends were club volleyball, or I had that network around there. My best friend, her dad built a whole dance studio in her bedroom so she could practice dance, because she was a professional dancer growing up. So I was always around athletes. I was even married once, and I was married to a professional athlete. I've just always resonated with the athlete mentality. My idols growing up, I was always reading books about athletes. So here I have another athlete on this show, because I just think that it is. I was talking to Jason about it. His discipline in the gym is unmatched. It takes a certain mindset for that. So talk to me a little bit about how you help people in your business around mindset.
I think for me, the most important thing is putting things that may seem complex to the average person, but simple to me, in a bridged situation. So how can I take something so complex and put it in a simple form for somebody that's going to be scalable, repeatable, and simple. And that's kind of the framework where a lot of my writing comes from, providing 3 key actionable insights every Monday for my newsletter. I want you to come up to my newsletter, I want you to read it, and at the end of it I want to say, or I want you to know that Chris provided me with these 3 things to make myself better. And that all comes from the mindset of just being in high level athletics and then retiring and then going into just weekend warrior status.
Yeah.
Right? But I think the mindset is the same, because what you start to realize is a lot of the same things that we're enamored with by our athletes and our musicians are the same things that can make anybody successful. Right? I think your ability to adapt to circumstances, your ability to be able to create from nothing, in the music sense, the ability to create from despair. A lot of the greatest songs in history have been made out of heartbreak, right? And especially in the 80s and 90s, and people longing for that 90s R&B, I'm outside in the rain, just ripping my shirt off, sliding on the grass.
I mean, some of the best poems I've written, I was like heartbroken.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's something that people really relate to. So I think that music and sport are the 2 last unifying, art and sport are the 2 last unifying things we have in a divisive world.
I love that. I'm writing a book right now. Hopefully it will be published by the end of this year. So like
It will be.
It will be.
It will be published by the end of this year.
The momentum is building.
Kinetic energy.
It's really good right now. Like I'm feeling really good about it. But when I first started the book, I knew that I was have a quote at the beginning of every chapter. I know a lot of authors do that, but I've just always been a quote person. Like there's quotes all over this interview already. But one of my favorite quotes was like a quote from G.I. Jane, and it was like, pain is not your enemy, it's your friend, because it reminds you that you're not dead yet.
Yep.
I was like a little girl, like picked that quote when I don't know, I just always resonated with that, because it's like, yeah, pain is in yoga, it's the other side of the equation. It's like Shavasana versus like chair pose, you know, like you're gonna have the yin and the yang, the sun and the moon, and you need both. So pain is your friend.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's something that you can also attribute to why people find so much strength and frustration in yoga. Because as somebody who's tried it in the past, I'm obviously not the most flexible, but it would be, I got a long way to go, which we'll get to. But one of the things that I think people really enjoy about it is it helps them step outside their comfort zone in an easing type of way. Like, we're going to hold this tough pose for a while, and we're going to keep practicing on it. We're going to keep practicing on it. So all while keeping the mindful breath in perspective, which in totality is what it's all about anyway. It's returning to self and making sure everything is good to go. So
coming back to consciousness.
Coming back to consciousness, right? So I think if you can blend that into your practice, which obviously you do, it provides that much more of a transformative experience for your patients, guests, clients,
whoever shows up.
Whoever's showing up, right.
Whatever you need. The teacher always gives you what you need. You just have to be willing to receive.
Yes, indeed.
So speaking of pain.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the Summit Seeker.
Okay.
But in a way, so the Summit Seeker was a vlog that you produced about your crazy massive knee injury.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
All right.
Tell me about this.
So in September of 2024, 6 months ago, I was out playing basketball, and something I'd been doing obviously for decades at this point, and I was just dribbling full speed, non-contact, and playing it wrong, and actually hyperextended my knee and dislocated it. So for those of you at home, I went back and in, and then it kind of redid its thing. So weird type of situation, but basically anytime your knee goes multiple directions, you're going to lose some ligaments and some tendons. And it was honestly probably one of the more devastating aspects of my life. Not even in the moment. It's just been more so in everything after that. But in the moment, it was, you knew something was off. And I wasn't really in pain, because usually when people tear their ACLs in sport, you see it, and you're writhing in pain. But my leg, my entire leg was just numb. So just rushed to the hospital, and I literally was on a hospital bed. Surgeons started coming in. They started doing different types of tests, and they did a Doppler test, which is where they check for pulse and to make sure things are flowing correctly. And I had no blood flow to my foot. So that means something's blocked somewhere in the leg preventing things from going on. Now, from a medical standpoint, that's an emergency, because if you don't restore that blood flow in 10 to 12 hours, you have a 7% chance of keeping your leg. So it was pretty damning to hear that. And again, going from just, again, being super active, being at Run Club, doing all these certain things, and pretty much being in a hospital bed, not knowing what's next. And luckily I was there, my mom was there, my girlfriend was there, and it was just one of those moments where you truly appreciate the people that do show up for you when it's darkest out.
Yeah.
Right? And I think whether it's in our own lives, whether we can show up, whether we're the person that shows up for other people, it's important to have those people who can be there for you, whether it's sunshine, rainbows, or storms.
Yeah. Another lesson of like the darkness, the dark night. You need the dark night because it sucks in the moment when you thought your best friends were your best friends, but then how they show up. But in the end, it's a blessing that these things sometimes happen, and then your environment switches from it.
Yes.
But yeah, back to your mindset on this. Like, I have had friends that have had, hanging out with athletes. Like, I feel like it's always like the mindset that's really hard. So what did you do to kind of keep your focus, or how was work, or how was your mental health during this?
My mental health struggled, honestly. It's something that I had never really come across through experience. I had episodes or chapters of depression before, but this was an entire season of depression.
Yeah.
Because when I woke up from that 10-hour surgery, I spent a week in ICU and recovering, and then I went to a rehab facility for another 5 or 6 weeks. And during that time, for the 2 months afterwards, I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up without passing out, just because I lost so much blood during surgery. So very simple things I just couldn't do. So I think for me, part of that was going to a place that I created as an athlete, where you sprain an ankle, you jam a finger, you dislocate a finger. It's a place you kind of go to, you create it as a safe space for yourself, as a safeguard against pain. So I found myself in that place a lot. And it wasn't the usual experience where I'm going to go hang out in here for a couple minutes, breathe, get myself back together. It was, no, I'm going to go sit in this room with no lights for the next 3 months, and just, metaphorically speaking, just be by myself and trying to just be here so I don't feel the pain of the external world.
Yeah.
So that place was created out of necessity. When like growing up in a bad neighborhood and all these different types of things, it's repressing memories and creating a place for them, but also realizing that we're human and we have to have a place to go. Because for me, that's how I cope.
Interesting. So, have you ever heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score?
I've heard of it.
Okay, well, basically the idea is your issues are in your tissues, and like physically pain, but then our mental and our emotional trauma gets stuck in different parts of our body. So I definitely have had no major knee pain, but knee pain has always been a thing in my life. It's kept me off Run Club sometimes. It was a problem when I was training for the LA Marathon last year. Like, it's just something that's like, I do like a lot of PT work around my knee. But the issue in my tissues that I resonate with the knee pain, especially on the right side, on the masculine side, is a lot of fear, insecurity, and lack of confidence, that those emotions get stored in the knee. Does any of that resonate with you? Or, because a lot of times when things happen, like you stub your toe, and then it's like, why did you stub your toe? You were running around, but that's a grounding thing. That's the universe literally grounding you, breaking your foot. Like, I've had friends where they tell me about their injuries, and I know them well enough about what's going on in their life. Sometimes I'm like, kind of makes sense. Like, when my sister had breast cancer, like, that's her heart chakra, and she's just really struggled over there with so much anger, like what happened to her, what happened to us, and she, struggled with, all of us struggle with that, but it always seemed like she was more angry and like manifested. Anyway, does any of that resonate with you? And it's okay if it doesn't, but were you haven't had that aha moment? Like, why would this happen to me?
I think there's a definitely that sense of why, and physiologically speaking, how. Because I think for me, this is something, it wasn't like I was in a car accident. It wasn't like I was in some crazy, traumatic skydiving situation, right? This is something I had done every day of my life since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So that was the confusing part. So, to this day, I still
Like
understand
how?
it.
Why?
Exactly, right? So I think a lot of the time, once you ask yourself why enough times and there's no answer, you got to move on.
Well,
right?
another thing that the knee is that I actually had in my notes that I didn't say because I was speaking to you is this is kind of, so now it feels like it resonates. Is when you have pain in your knee, you're stuck in the why and stuck in the past. So maybe the knee injury has created this why, but the issue in your tissue is you do have to let go of the why. That's gonna maybe help with the healing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Reiki healer, but this is all like Chinese medicine type stuff.
Which I actually have a Chinese therapist that I work with.
Cool.
So yeah, she's.
Ask her what she thinks about emotions in the knee. See what
Oh,
she
she already knows. She talks about the same thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
like when I started treatment with her over the past couple months, we talk about these things when she's treating me.
Cool.
About where she'll hit me with different acupuncture points and she'll tell me what this is responsible for.
I love
So
that.
I love the validity and the connection between the two of you on that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I just love hearing all that stuff. I said this on the last episode, so my listeners don't need the whole story again. But for you to know, is when I got fired for a whole year, I kept using the words, I just feel like there's a target on my back. I just feel like there's a target on my back. I got fired, had the skin cancer. You know what? The scar, it was an X on my back on one of the pieces that came off my body. And I was like, there's my freaking target that I was running around saying. So it's like, sometimes we don't have the whys, and it could be like 10 years later. A lot of my guests will talk about stuff like that. Some things just won't make sense, but like sometimes you just have to pray for the clarity, and it will come eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love analogies, and I equate it to playing video games as a kid, where there are certain doors in Super Mario 64 that you can't unlock because you don't have the key yet.
Yeah.
You have to go find the key. You have to go beat Bowser or one of his minions.
Like
and
that one show that I watched growing up. I don't know what it's called, so moving on.
But it's like you can come. That door is going to be there,
Yeah.
but you may not be prepared to walk through that yet because you haven't found the key. You got to complete another side quest to get that knowledge, to get that experience, so that you can go through that door.
Yeah.
And I think for people that are willing to invest that time, those issues in the tissue will remain because they haven't healed or they haven't found out what they need to find out how to carry on their lives.
Yeah.
And they can't get through that door because they're just going to keep going into it. And that's the definition of insanity from a public perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have moments that you feel like, because I definitely, I can see the patterns in my life. I mean, I'm like a yogi. I believe that we literally have a pattern when we're born with the stars and the moon and what time we're born. Like, I believe in all that. Like, we are literally set with a pattern when we're born. So when patterns show up in your life, it makes sense because you have a pattern. But do you feel like you have like patterns that have shown up in your life that you're just like, why am I still here? Or you're like, oh, I'm still here because I haven't found that key?
I think this injury and that first surgery really pivoted my mindset on that.
Okay.
So there was
How so?
a dark part of my surgery where originally it was supposed to be 4.5 hours. It ended up being 10.
Oh, Jesus.
So during that process, obviously was asleep, so I didn't know any of this. But when I woke up, come to find out, I had pretty much lost enough blood in surgery to kill me. And that was something that I obviously couldn't fathom because here I am, 33. I was extremely active 15 hours ago. I was normal. I was driving to games. We were having dinner the night before. I mean, a couple hours before the game. But it was when I woke up from that, I spent that time thinking about why. Spent that time thinking about how. But as I started to grind the days out and get a little bit more out of that dark place that we talked about, I became obsessed with providing value for people. And I think for me, the one thing that I've been blessed with is an endless amount of energy. And I kept coming back to one question, and that was, if I would have died, would I have been happy with what I'd left? And selfishly, the answer was yes. I had been a professional basketball player. I had traveled the world. I had done all these things and really made my parents proud. Selflessly.
That's awesome, though, to feel that way, though.
No, for sure. So, I mean, I look at it through the lenses of selfishly, yes. Selflessly, no. I hadn't created enough value, in my opinion, for the world, given my tools. So now, on the other side of surgery, since I am here, maybe that is why I'm still here, is to provide value for people in ways that I know how.
I love that you just said that. I really resonate with that. And I'm thinking, I had a guest, Coach Snez, on the show back when we first started, and one of her company values is integrity. I love that word. It's one of my favorite words. So we talked about integrity, and so I had her explain in her words what integrity meant. And she kind of had the same message. She's like, integrity is like when you wake up, you're making an impact not for yourself, because you owe the world your gifts, and that's living in integrity, is when you're showing up as your best self every day, like training in the gym, eating well. You're doing all that for yourself, but so that you can show up with integrity for others.
Right.
So you definitely seem like, yeah, I love that about you. So you also, another thing that is cool is, like you mentioned at the beginning, that, you know, you're passionate about people. I say that a lot. Like we were talking about LinkedIn off camera.
Right.
We both love LinkedIn. That's like one of my favorite social media platforms. But I think I've even called myself like a culture ninja before, like people manager. Like that's been a tagline.
Right.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, because I know you're really passionate about like building teams and building the right team. And I always think of like Coffee and Crystals and like my team that I'm creating, and like who I already know my team, because that was like one of the first things I thought of. Like when I make it big, like I know who's doing like the style of the hair, but it's not about them being the best at it, which, you know, they are, but it's like, it's also about like the person behind it and the team I'm building and like what that looks like. I'm just think it's so important in business. Like you can have the best idea and be making so much money, but with the wrong team, you're not living in integrity and in kindness and in flow, like yoga. So what are your thoughts on, like, how do you build a team?
Well, first I want to say that I love the term culture ninja.
Really? Because I had a boss tell me to take it down, and I did, and I never put it back up.
No, it's all good. People out there, I'm a culture ninja. So,
yeah. Hey guys, quick break. So at the very beginning, I was asking Chris to name as many crystals as he could in 10 seconds, and his crystal that he named was quartz. I find that interesting because if you don't know, the quartz is the master healer. So just a clear quartz is something that you need if you are in a season in your life where you need an abundance of healing. So very interesting that that was his crystal. But there's also different types of quartz. There's a smoky quartz, which is like a brown or gray, and that's a very grounding energy. There's rose quartz, which is pink, and it's really around the heart chakra and love crystal. There's citrine, which is a golden yellow, which is one of my favorite colors, and that is associated with abundance. And then there's the amethyst, which I always think about this beautiful amethyst crystal that I got in Palm Springs and passed it over to my friend Mark in New York, and they have it on their mantle in their apartment. Or actually, no, that was their old apartment. I don't know where it is in their new apartment. But anyway, amethyst is a purple stone, and it's really linked to spirituality and a sense of calm. So thanks for listening.
yeah.
Okay. So how do you pick a team? Like, do you have a list of questions, or is it more like organic? You are waiting to meet the right person? Like, what does recruiting look like for you?
Recruiting is about identifying the needs that I have and my shortcomings. I think it requires a level of self-awareness and maturity to know what I'm not good at, and to be honest with who I need to go find that's better than me in these respective areas.
Yes, I wish more people could just let go of their ego and think like that.
Nobody wants to be wrong, ever.
No, but it feels like it's getting worse. Or maybe I'm just becoming more conscious of the problem. It's not getting worse. It's just, I'm like, what's happening here?
But that's good. But I think that's something that will hopefully propel people forward, because the more you notice it and the more you speak on it, you can give that nugget to somebody else, and then they'll start to do it. So it becomes this snowball reaction. But it takes a small amount of people to start change. And I think that having that mindset shift is important, because you have to spark it somewhere. It doesn't just start out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. But I think for the team in specific is realizing where my shortcomings are and identifying them, and then being willing to practice my strengths. So from a yoga parallel, if I know I'm not good in Warrior 3, I should probably practice Warrior 3. if I love Shavasana so much that that's what I want to do the
My
entire
favorite
class,
class.
of course, I want a Shavasana for 60 minutes all the time.
Good. See, you could be a good client for me. We would. I can teach Shavasana for 60 minutes.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yummy
that is,
adjustments.
everybody needs some Shavasana in their life, whether it's.
Did you do your homework on the show, or are you just like, you're really like helping my ego right
No, I'm just saying that I realize how helpful it is.
Yeah,
because
Shavasana is a great pose. It's underrated in yoga classes.
Exactly, and I think people just need to be more in tune with their bodies.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stress in the world nowadays, and yoga in general is just a way healthier outlet for that, right? So I love that you provide that space for people and give them a chance to step away from all the noise.
Yeah.
And Shavasana is the absence of noise, right?
Yeah. My
So-
sister always says that she hates yoga so much, like she'll do it when I'm in town, I'll teach at her church, and she'll just, she just always says, I can't sit still. And I was like, well, that's exactly your practice though. And she's, you know, because people get stuck on, oh, they're thinking about their to-do list, but like, that's still really great yoga for you, because imagine running around, driving your car, like spending time with your kids, and all those thoughts are racing. Get them all raced out on the mat, because like, that is part of showing up to the mat to get all that noise, and then maybe you're a little bit more present when you go have brunch with your girlfriend now, because you thought about your to-do list, and now yoga is actually a way to strategize. I know you always talk about like building strategies with your clients and how to get them there, but to me that's part of the process. Like, I'm not going to come up with a great podcast script to interview Chris Eversley if I didn't make it to yoga this week. Like, that's all part of me preparing and strategizing for my craft. Do you relate to that at all?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually, funny enough, the focus of this week's newsletter is
cool.
making sure that you have a way to put yourself in the best position to win. So for you, what you're just saying is step one of, or the first key strategy this week is having a pre-meeting or pre-project framework to work through. So am I double checking my notes? Am I making sure all the slides are good? Am I tailoring this talk or whatever I'm about to do to the audience? So are the questions aligned with who you're speaking to?
Yeah.
Are they not cookie cutter? Because everybody can tell, especially in today's day and age, you can tell when something's being bullshitted to you.
Yeah.
Right? Especially, you see it, I mean, whether it's sales, whether it's social media, you can tell when someone's pandering.
Yeah.
So it's good to be able to have that in your pre-project focus, because it makes sure that you're aligned with what you're about to go through. So if your process says, I need to do yoga before I go do X, Y, and Z, that is your first door that you can't get through to the others unless you go through that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you, is this part of like what you do, is you help people find what their things are?
I think it's a tangent of what I do.
Okay, so tell me more about what it is that you do.
Right, yeah. So I think for me, one of the largest pivots was going back to that providing value. And I used to work specifically with student athletes. But I felt as though that's something that I did because that was my experience. But what I realized was, yes, I love student athletes, but I also just love people. So I branched out to pivot into speaking to everyone. So why would I box myself in to speak only to student athletes when I can go to conferences, I can go to companies and speak to everyone who could potentially learn something that could help them in their daily lives or their professional lives. So for me, I look at it as a chance to maximize my time, opportunity, and self, right? Which is my mantra, because I think at the end of the day, that's all we have. We have ourselves, we have our opportunities, and we have our time. And if you can find a way to maximize all three of those, you and the people around you are going to have an enjoyable experience as long as you're breathing.
Yeah. That's like all the layers of yoga. That's physical, that's mental, that's emotional, and that's spiritual, like peak dharma performance. So a couple of things that I was like, ooh, we can say that. Ooh, we can say that. Like, they're full of good nuggets. But first, you mentioned Warrior 3. So as your yoga teacher, which I know you're probably in a lot of PT and recovery,
Oh, yes.
so you can talk to us about like what you do to recover. But it's actually Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 that would be good for knee recovery. So I don't know if they have you in those poses. I could actually, like, you could learn a lot about your body just being in Warrior 1 or Warrior 2 for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Can maybe start to really dislike the pose, but it's really great for strengthening the muscles around the knee, stretching the knee. So that's a good pose. But what does your recovery look like?
It is honestly a little bit different than what people would think it would be.
Okay.
Because I am throwing everything at this knee/leg. I think because I have to. I have taken a non-traditional route because I don't think that Western medicine specifically gets the job done.
I relate. Yeah.
We can speak at length about that. I'm sure
that'll be another podcast.
Right, but I've gone to extreme lengths to really get after getting this healed because it's not a linear injury because it's so complex. So for me, I'm combining Western medicine, which is basic PT. I go to the therapist. They work on the tissues around my knee to get it to loosen up.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, even my chiropractor does that around my knee.
exactly.
That hurts. I can imagine
terrible.
if I had an injury.
Exactly, especially when your injury is predicated on the lack of motion in your knee. So one of the biggest hurdles, if not the biggest hurdle besides the nerve damage, is going to be the lack of range of motion in my knee. So in order for them to go repair my ACL, I have to be able to bend my knee. Because I was in an external fixator and I had metal in my leg for 3 months, locked out at 0 degrees, I can't bend my knee. So I have to go in there and break up that scar tissue. So every day at therapy, when I go,
Every day, so 7 days a week?
well, not a couple of days I go.
Yeah.
Right, a couple of days that
But at
I
the
am
beginning,
allotted
it was like that.
therapy.
Gotcha.
Right, we'll go that route.
Yeah,
A couple of days
okay.
that I am allotted therapy by my insurance. I lay on the table. They work on some of the tissues around the knee and some of the muscles, and then they start cranking to try to get it to bend. So yeah, it's painful. So I've gone from 0 to 70 in the last 4 months, which is pretty good progress.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for me.
Yeah.
So, you just got to keep going because I have to get to at least 90 for them to consider that. But from a Western medicine standpoint, it wouldn't have gotten to 70, only on Western medicine. I've gone into Eastern medicine as well, especially considering my time in Asia playing basketball. I learned so much more about that side of the world and how they treat things. So I'm a lot more open to it than probably people here are.
Yeah, so like what kind of things?
So acupuncture, TENS, which is basically electrocuting acupuncture.
Okay. So it uses energy.
Yes,
It's all energy.
exactly. So that a lot of chi treatments. Even simple things where if we're treating a certain meridian somewhere, where's the parallel on the other side of the body? Putting things up here for my chi and making sure everything's good. Put one right here in the middle of my forehead for the balance.
Yeah.
So really just understanding the body and all of its endpoints, its through points, the meridian standpoint of it, I think is important because a lot of people...
patterns.
Seriously,
Yeah.
a lot of people are just uneducated when it comes to that. And I think if you want to get the most out of yourself, you have to be able to be in a growth mindset and open to different things.
Yeah, have you ever tried Reiki?
Not yet.
Okay, that should be on your list.
Okay.
Like this quarter, your yoga homework, you're getting Reiki.
Ooh,
I
okay.
mean, I have a girl, but it would be long distance, and I feel like for your first experience, should probably be in person.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, that's fair. Who do you go to for business advice?
I go to everyday life. And I think that's a little bit different than what most people would say.
I was like, that sounds deep.
Yeah,
So
I
explain
think
yourself.
it's very easy to go to people that I like. So to give you a traditional example, I love speaking. So in order to get better at speaking, I like watching Simon Sinek. I like listening to his podcast. I like listening to, I would subscribe
Well, now
to
I have
his.
a new podcast.
There you go. A little bit of optimism.
Okay.
Or a bit of optimism is the name of his podcast.
Love the name.
And he really just is personable while teaching you how to get your point across. He's very good at storytelling. So that's
I should
currently
be listening to him.
100% as storytellers, it's important for us to use our superpowers, but it's also more important for us to make sure we keep tuning it
Yes.
to make it the best version of what we can put out. But when I say everyday life, I look at life every day as just inspiration. So for example, right now, especially with my injury, when I walk out into the world, I'm a huge advocate of the fact the world talks, people just choose not to listen. So I'll see somebody in a wheelchair who would be grateful to be in my situation. I see somebody walking regular, I would be grateful to be in their situation. So it's this constant cycle of I would always want more. You could be perfectly healthy, but guess what? You want more money.
Right.
You could have a 1-bedroom, I want a 2-bedroom.
Yes.
I want a backyard. I want all these different things. We're always wanting what's next, but never appreciating what's now. And I think that's something. It's a cycle that I wish people would break out of, but that requires you to come off of autopilot, which a lot of people just don't have the software features engaged to be able to do that.
You need need more yoga.
You need more yoga.
Or Love and Basketball. That's
You
my favorite movie.
That's true. I hate to see it, Juju. I hate that you just tore your ACL. I hate it. I know obviously they went to USC back in the day. Get well soon, Juju.
Okay, we'll shout out. We'll tag them. Hopefully, free shares, please. But let's talk about basketball, because for me, like, sports was always a way for me. Like, I became a runner because I was literally running away from home. Like, if I could run away, I was just too chicken. Like, I was like, I'm me running away, but then I'd be like, fine, I'll go back. So that's kind of how I became a runner. And like I shared earlier, like all my friends were into sports, so I would like spend hours kicking the soccer ball and like mimicking the training that I got at whatever, you know, because I would play on the soccer teams at the school, but like all my friends were like had the extra club soccer and stuff, so I would train myself to be as good as my friend Michelle, and just like sports was my way to get out of all the trauma that was going on in my house. But like, sounds like you're really close to your parents, and I don't know, what was your upbringing like, and how did you kind of connect to basketball?
So both my parents actually played basketball.
Oh, cool.
Right, my dad actually got drafted by the Bulls, and
What?
my mom, yes,
Okay.
and my
Big
mom
deal.
played for Long Beach State back in the day.
That is so cool.
Yeah, this
So
is
now you really are loving basketball.
I'm serious. I'm serious. Like that, I was born out of loving basketball, and probably a couple glasses of wine. But
Yeah, right.
There wasn't a world in which I wasn't a basketball player.
That's
Not
so
that they
cool.
pressured me,
Yeah.
but I had all the tools by the time I got to that age where my growth spurt hit to be able to do this. And I had the perfect teachers. I had two people who had gone where I wanted to go, and pushed me to go further than themselves. So my mom stopped after college. If she could have went to China to play, but she was, I'm staying at the crib, I'm not trying to go over there. It's before FaceTime. She ain't calling nobody.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
okay.
My dad went over and played in Sweden for 7 years. He always told
Cool.
me, get over there if you can. Go do it.
Love
So
this.
when I graduated, I had the opportunity to come up, and I took it because not only did I love basketball, but at face value, I am a black kid from the south side of Chicago. There are places that I have seen and been that I've only ever dreamt about or saw in geography books. Being able to visit those places, especially coming from where I came from,
Yeah.
means the world, not only to me, but
Yeah,
to
it's
my
like
parents.
more than basketball.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And I think that if you can find a medium in your life to allow you to travel the world, not just to say you traveled, but to travel the world in order to get more experiences to help you appreciate each other more, you need to do it.
Yeah.
So whether that's creating podcasts, whether that's creating other various types of art, whether you're drawing, whether you're journaling, putting things out into the world that will allow you to reach people on the other side of the world and form that connection that could one day potentially be travel.
Yeah. You really kind of confirmed something for me. I feel like I've thought it before and thought about it, but I feel like it's going to be something that I'm going to be more grateful for. It's kind of like with yoga, you know, like I had a coworker that went to Bali for 2 weeks, and I was there for a month, but for yoga school, and I just was like asking her about like the temples and the monkeys and all these like, I guess, yogi things, and like she just went to like clubs and day parties, and that's fine. I'm not hating on that. Like I was just out with my friends last night, but I was like, you went all the way to like Bali and you didn't like do one of yoga class. I just was kind of like, when I go travel, like even when I had all in my wedding era, it's funny that I'm bringing this up twice, but it's related. Like everyone did yoga on my wedding day. Like it's part of my life in every aspect. Like I've traveled to Greece and Bali and Costa Rica, and it's like when I go on vacation, like I'm not vacationing from yoga. Yoga comes with me, but that comes with like the passion. Like I always talk about now, I didn't start practicing yoga until I was like in my mid-20s, maybe 40 this summer. But I feel like I was always a yogi. Like I would run away and I would sit under the trees and eat fruit like from the ground. Like that's yoga. Like I was like in my yoga practice all my life, but I wasn't really aware of it until I was aware of it. So I think that's cool that you have been able to bridge that with everything that you do and keep it a passion.
Yeah, I mean, it just provides you with a space to, again, create a problem only you can solve,
Yeah.
right? So with that being said, what is the problem that only you can solve?
I think that I'm just really good at motivating and inspiring people.
Okay.
And I think that with being a storyteller and utilizing my stories,
I think has always been a way that has helped people. Like when people, even as a little girl, and like I think my humor is really helpful because, and why I say that is I remember when somebody would get hurt on the playground. This is when I was just like a little kid. They would be like, "Where's Katie?" They would like come find me, and I'd be like, "All right, what did your mom say?" I would like try to make them laugh to like make them feel better. But like even like our mutual friend Hannah, second shout out of the show, like she's always like, "We gotta bring Katie. At least she'll like make us laugh." You know what I mean? So I think like I'm trying to find a way to like lighten, like take the load off, like like a forward fold, like let the world rinse off your shoulders with me around. So. I think that's going to be from me telling stories and teaching podcasts and disarm people a little bit, have some fun. So that's my business.
But we need it.
Help me strategize to monetize that.
I got you. I'm here. But it's important because you have the vision.
Yeah.
And you have the mission and you know what you want to do, right? You have your superpower of humor.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can put on something that is thousands of years old in your practice and blend it to your paint so you can give the world your perfect picture.
Exactly. And I think consciousness comes back again on that because I think I had to realize that that was enough. You know what I mean? So many years of like being a headhunter and I was a director of retail, like title, ego. When really now I can literally answer and be like, I'm just trying to monetize my humor and my stories.
Right.
Period.
Simple enough.
And by the way, I've done this. But, you know, like I think yoga has helped me find that superpower. Like, yes, I can do really cool yoga poses. I'm a little stiff right now because, you know, life. But it's so much more than that. And I'm sure you relate to that with basketball. So how are you coping with like not being able to play? Are you playing? Like what's happening with that?
No, day to day for me in terms of athletic ability is just getting down to go lift. I think it's a very nice level 1 re-entry into the active life that I want to get back to. And a lot of my work on a day-to-day basis, it's not done here anymore. It's here, right? It's how can I make sure that I'm okay here, because if I'm not okay here, I'm not going to put out anything worth a damn for anybody out there. Right. So with you and like your practice, okay, you've identified what you want to do. This makes you feel seen. This makes you feel supported in yourself. That's going to put you in the prime environment to give the world your best work. So for me personally, making sure I'm good here when I wake up, I'll either just sit for a second. We go for walks. We get coffee. Just try not to be on screens as much. Get out, get some sun, and then start the day. And when I'm at home, sometimes I'll meditate before I go to sleep. Sometimes I'll meditate in the morning, just really depending on what's going on.
I'm a morning meditator. I'm not. I guess I meditate at night if I do a yoga class at night. But my whole day is different, and that doesn't mean that it's better. Like things don't happen and obstacles aren't on the way, but it really helps, guys. Like meditation is such a game changer. I could see why it helps people before bed though. To like if you're one of those like monkey minds, I'm just like hustling so much right now that it's like my head is still on out. Like there's no monkey mind. Like, I'm tired.
But the best part about that is you've identified what works for you.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of something like meditation. It's so applicable because everybody's on a different wavelength.
Yes.
Right. So what you do in the morning sets you up for success. What I do during the day, I need to wind down from, and it helps me compartmentalize what I've done for the day. Put that in a little box, and then I can take mine to bed, right?
Yeah.
So it helps me slow down and helps you ground yourself to get geared up.
Yeah, and even like the walks, we're pointing because Chris's girlfriend's here. She's our live audience. Shout out. But that is meditation can be a walk. So we would do that some days at yoga school. Like some days it's sitting on in a yoga cushion in a shala and traditional meditation poses, or it's like, hey, no talking, and we're walking on the beach for an hour.
Yep.
So I'll do that. I try to make it to the beach once a week, and that's my meditation walk. So it's really good for your heart chakra when you meditate in a walking meditation outside of nature, because the heart chakra is directly related to nature and green foods.
And green foods.
Yeah, so matcha.
That's true. Matcha, throw that in there.
Should have made you matcha.
It's all good. It's all good. I appreciate that. There's a lot more insight about the heart than my aura ring could give me, so I appreciate it.
Well, heart just seems to be the theme for some reason, although it's like, well, I guess, like, because your knee is close to your second heart, which is your calf. I don't know, but you said 3 earlier too, and the number 3 is also a number connected to the heart chakra. But you were talking about in threes about business. I don't know, but anyway.
Well, key 3 insights from the newsletter.
Yes,
That's what it
the
was.
key. Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to his newsletter.
Sure, if you want to, I try to provide value every Monday and make them suck less. So that's my motto. We
Yeah.
just try to make Monday suck a little less.
Oh, that's
all.
funny. I need to subscribe. I don't think
Come
I
on
am.
in.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll get the link
200
together
plus
and make sure.
strong,
Oh,
you
that's
know, in the
good.
first week, so we're good.
That's
Going
decent.
somewhere.
But talk to me about this new podcast too.
Yeah, so the podcast actually is called The Chronic Couch.
Okay.
And it is with Eric, another fellow WeHo Run Club member.
West Hollywood Run Club.
That's right, running
We're
strong.
just entrepreneurs running LA around
I'm telling
here.
you,
we do it all.
Somebody's got to do it. But it was something that Eric came to me with about a month and a half ago. And he had this really good idea of just talking about his injury, which I had no idea about. I just know
I
it
didn't
from Run
either.
Club. Right.
Just learned 2 days ago when I tuned in.
100%, right? And I think that was something that is the beauty of run clubs, is they provide that sense of community, and you can get connected even here.
Yeah.
And you can get based on how you see somebody moving in a run club, you can kind of get a vibe. Oh, that person's cool. I could talk to that person. So like Eric and I, we'd always been cool, but we didn't really know much about each other.
Yeah.
But he had hit me up a while ago with this idea, and I was just like, hell yeah. And not from a point of, I think this is cool, we need to monetize this.
I like the name.
Right, The Chronic Couch.
My friends in college called me Katie Chronic. It's
Oh,
like
wow.
Chronic. It's Chronister, Chronicles.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be my book name, The Katie Chronicles.
It's on brand.
Yeah.
It's uniquely you.
Yeah.
Which is hard to find in a world full of
Chronicles.
fakes and remixes and all these
Yeah.
different things. But yeah, so the Chronic Chronicles, or the Couch Chronicles, excuse me, was something that came from Eric's mind, and it was something he wanted to get out in the world, because for him, he views it as a way to self-therapize.
Yeah, like
Right.
it's therapeutic. for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make something up there on the spot.
Self-development.
So,
It's
right.
yoga. It's his yoga.
This is yoga, right? And for me, I was thinking like, okay, well, we obviously have this injury in common, and I firmly believe that shared misery is often better than shared joy.
Yeah.
So we have this in common. And
Trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding, seriously. And I was like, you know what, man? Like, I would love to. Let's just sit here. Let's talk about stuff, because we hadn't found a space where people can go just talk about the injuries while they're still injured.
I have someone for you. She was like she played D1 volleyball.
Okay.
She had a crazy injury. If you need a guest,
All right.
just casted her for you.
All right, perfect.
Her name is Krista.
All right, perfect. We're definitely looking for guests.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
we'll definitely talk to Krista when we get a chance.
Yeah, I'll connect you. I'll have my team reach out.
Please do, please do. But yeah, Eric, he really came up with this idea, and we went back and forth just trying to figure out the logistics. And the hardest part of any journey is the first step. So we just said, hey man, let's just start. So
Yes.
I said, pull up to the house. We use my couch, set up our bootleg, production situation.
That's always my advice. It's like, I get it. Like, I want everything to look good too, but it's like sometimes that's just, that will hold you back.
100%.
Will hold you back. Like, all of this you just keep layering like everything. You know, like when you move into a house, you don't have everything. I don't care how rich you are.
Exactly.
Like, there's layers to it. So I love that. Like, I love when people are brave and just like, if you want to do it, do it. And you might end it, or you might not.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Just have fun.
Just have fun. That's the only thing that matters
Yes.
at the end of the day. Like, none of this other shit matters. I mean, everything that we kind of go through as a society nowadays, I really want people to find something fulfilling.
Yes.
And I'm not shaming the people who choose money as fulfillment.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own
We
thing.
all do it.
We all do
Money
it.
is abundance.
It is.
Part of it.
Right. And I think that it's just something that is, it's important for Eric and I to have that space, not only selfishly, but selflessly, because we want people to feel like they have a community. Because most things you see, oh, I recovered from this injury already.
Yeah.
This is my story. Not people who are, I got PT in 20 minutes, so I got to go do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Right? I want people to feel as though they have a place to come hang out or listen every Friday and have guests.
Yeah.
And just,
It's a community.
right,
Yeah.
our subheader or like internal motto is just two dudes hanging on the couch talking about their injuries.
Yeah.
Come join us. So that's what we are.
I love it. Cool. I'm gonna make sure everyone follows the pod.
Yes.
And listen. It's all
Yes.
about them listening.
Exactly.
Consumption time is important, so keep it rolling.
100%.
All right, well, kind of just to wrap up, I'm sure you've picked on that it can sometimes be a little deep on coffee and crystals, spiritual. So do you resonate with that word? Are you a spiritual person? Seems like it.
Yes, I am
Okay.
a spiritual person, and it's important to be spiritual because it relies on you coming off autopilot, as I mentioned before. Just having that higher degree of court awareness is what we call it in sport, is making sure that you are realizing what's going on, taking inventory of your feelings, and really making sure that you're using all of that information, all that data to make sure that you're showing up for everybody else and yourself. And I think once you knock off that ego, the world becomes a hell of a place.
Right? What are some things that you do to help you, like spiritually?
This is going to sound very interesting, but I do DJ.
Yeah,
Like music?
It's so funny because like in yoga school, that would be another yoga lesson. Like people think spiritual is like going to church or going to yoga. Like spiritual is listening to soft music, or like it doesn't have to be soft. It's like connecting with music. Dancing can be spiritual.
Exactly.
You know, like connecting with a good conversation. Like this to me is a spiritual conversation. Like we're getting something from it, where it's like we're using all layers of our body to have this conversation. So it gets spiritual.
Exactly, and I think that's important also too to note, because like I guess traditionally people think when they hear spiritual, we're automatically talking Bible. Right. Yes. Which it takes a refocusing of, because that's not the case anymore. Right. It should be conversations like this.
We're all spiritual beings.
We're all spiritual beings.
You want to agree with it or not?
Right, we are.
We are.
And I think people need to really take a look at that and realize that showing up to conversations or that fulfillment that we mentioned, but using all of yourself, it makes it a spiritual experience. So for me, I love listening to music. I love making music that takes people on a journey. It gives them somewhere to go. For me, I use music to escape from me being injured. So if I can listen to music or make a mix that's 4 hours long, great. Because it just took me on a spiritual journey that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
And disconnect from yourself a little,
100%.
Something higher than you.
Exactly, and that's important because we got to get out of our way.
I love that. Awesome. Any questions for me? Or anything maybe that we didn't go over that you want my listeners, or you think that they would benefit from? It's okay if not, think about it.
What is the one key value that you want from your listeners, or to provide to your listeners?
Yeah, I think, we already talked about kindness and integrity, but always being open to learning something. Because I've even noticed, in my own yoga journey of just being scared of yoga, but that can be of anything. Like when you're curious of something, sometimes fear and stress or just all these negative things kind of get in your way. But I think if you're always curious and in a mindset of always learning something, I want people to not just laugh and have a little heartstring pull by listening to your story and other guest stories, but I really hope that they're wow, I really learned something, and maybe I will go to a yoga class. So I guess just keeping it informative and having them come back because they know that they're gonna learn something. But I think out of this show, making sure that you're always in some sort of self-development chapter, even if it's just taking a marketing course or getting a Pilates certification, always bettering yourself and learning is really important to me. So I want that to be a takeaway when people are listening to Coffee and Crystals.
Okay. Got another one for you.
Okay.
I give you a minute of screen time in Times Square. And you get a billboard that people get to see for 60 seconds. What does it say?
I think I would say, I would probably pitch just my story in 60 seconds. Hey, I'm Katie Chronister. I grew up in southern Florida.
Wait, hold on, let's
Oh, okay.
3,
oh no!
2,
oh,
1,
he's getting me back.
Go.
Hi, I'm Katie Chronister, and I own a franchise called Coffee and Crystals. I just wrote a book, and why you want to read it is I have a story that is very unique and different. I grew up in Southern Florida with my great-grandmother. She was 63 when she took on me and my sister, who were 2 and 3. Unfortunately, our parents were drug addicts, and they put us up for adoption, and we were put into a better situation. But as my grandmother got older, she invited more family members that just caused way more dysfunction. I worked 3 jobs before I was even 15 years old. I'm a girl boss by trade, by having to be a girl boss. So reading my book and supporting my media company, Coffee and Crystals, you're gonna learn nuggets to get yourself out of some really shitty situations. Is it 60 seconds yet?
Get 60 seconds. That's good.
Boom! Okay, I gotta work on that.
But no, but it's like, again, like that's something just, I mean, from a business standpoint, that's something that I want you to
Right on, or
to
like
write,
work on.
to
Yeah.
write or to work, because if you are pitching to somebody or whatever, when we talk about creation and
Yeah.
gaining traction, especially on different mediums,
Yeah,
tell your story.
yeah.
It's the one thing you're gonna do better than anybody else.
It's so random, like, to like compare myself to Chelsea Handler, but my friend and I this morning, like right before you got here, we were eating and we were watching Chelsea Handler's new thing, and like the story she was telling, I wasn't like shocked by it, but I was just like, I was almost inspired. I was like, oh, I actually have a very similar story. It's kind of like why I just made that blurb, because she was talking about like what a hustler she was, and that when she was 10 years old, like she made a hard lemonade stand and was like mixing whiskey. Like, what a smart entrepreneur as a
Right.
10-year-old. Like, I'm gonna mix my lemonade
Right.
and make more than yours.
Yeah.
And she like made $79, and then in 1 week she made $370. And I was like, I think I need to talk more about the ways I hustled, not when I was 30 and 40 and like on private planes at a moment, but more like how I hustled when I was a kid. Because like I knew how to feed myself when I was in middle school, because I was like working the neighborhood, and I was like, that's not really a story I'm talking about enough, because that's like resilience right there.
Right. I mean, it
Yeah.
gives people a foundation.
Yes.
And people love an origin story.
So I think I need to work on that pitch and like kind of like do that quicker, or like with more like staples and like how, you know, just all the things of like what I did before I was even 15.
No, I think that's a good start, and I would say something that I learned from Simon, shout out Simon again, is a way to really captivate and build a world for people is to start with what you see, not what you were doing. So you could easily say, I went to the basketball gym, I played basketball, and then I went home. Or you could say, there were 7 seconds on the clock, sweat was dripping down my face, my hands are a little bit sweaty, and I know the ball's about to come my way, but I got to play to make to win this game. My teammate passed me the ball, and the ball slipped out of my hands and went out of bounds. I felt like a complete failure, but I can try again tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? Like, which one of those is going to resonate with
It
people?
literally sounds like a completely different story.
Exactly,
I was
but it's
like,
the
wait,
same-
what did you say the first time?
It's the same thing, right? But it's,
Yeah.
you know, my favorite movie being Inception is I'm obsessed with creating worlds for people to live in. I get to design this world and tell this story for you to come along on this journey with me.
I love that.
There's no better feeling than taking people on a journey in a world that you created and having them go through the journey with you.
Yeah, and having fun with it.
And having fun at the end of the day. Be in humor that's going to set you apart.
Yes. Tell some jokes.
That's right. Tell some jokes. Shout out Chelsea Handler.
I know, seriously, she's so funny. Like, I always knew she was funny, but she's just been popping up everywhere. I mean, like, she was on a Call Her Daddy episode, and it was hilarious.
We're gonna
I was
tag
like,
her
this
too.
woman is so funny. Chelsea Handler, will you be on my show? Like,
Yeah, we're right here in
come
the
on.
neighborhood.
We have a
Come
lot
on.
of things in common. I had a Toyota Echo, and that literally is going to be... Okay, we're gonna take a quick
It's
break.
only over 30 minutes anyway. So.
Okay, good. That's a good place to take a break, because I can re-ask. I feel
There we
like... How you doing?
Good. Chilling.
Okay. Was it batteries? Okay, good. I put extra batteries. How are you doing over there?
Good.
A live audience.
Yeah.
What were we talking about with it?
We're talking. I'll do a job about my due
Yes,
diligence
boss.
to help you play.
Your boss.
Yeah.
So I can make sure that this won't record over this.
Nope.
Different SD card in to make sure,
That might be a good idea.
but we'll have to format it so we'll erase whatever's on it. Is that okay?
Yep.
So it needs to be one that.
Is it doing a weird thing?
I'm just doing that formatting.
Oh yeah, so culture, building teams, there we go. We're probably at like 35, 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, do you
Well, he
have
hasn't stopped me yet, but then I was like, I don't think we were giving him a chance to stop.
It was right at
It was too good.
35.
Content was so lit.